Around 42 million Americans depend on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP.
Look out for the single mothers that got kids. Now, what can we do? We can't feed our kids, let alone if we do have jobs. Again, what can we do?
And who the they think celebrating these motherfucking holidays with no food stamps? I don't know where we gonna get the food from.
I will be at motherfucking Walmart with my steel toes on and my motherfucking helmet, and I dare try to stop me from walking out that motherfucking store with my grocery.
Trump, it ain't nothing like you been knew how to steal. Like, please, I'll go steal a whole turkey and a ham. Like, what up?
Right now, Crowder argues that SNAP is too expensive. 100 to 130 billion annually and poorly regulated. Yeah, we got some people who scheming to get over and they get benefits, while some that really need it, they're not getting it. You understand? That's because there's a hack for it. Well, sit back and react. We're about to see how this is going to play out. He's going to debate students in regards to them changing his mind as far as ending all SNAP benefits. Let's see how this is about to play out. Let's go, baby.
I can't fathom this idea that, like, Trump is, instead of cutting aid to, say, stop funding the war in Ukraine, stop sending so much aid over to Israel, stop giving the rest of the world so much money, we're giving so much money away like just candy to everybody. Stop getting paid by these lobbyists. Stop paying yourselves salaries even while the government shut down. I think the stat I saw was we're giving Israel enough to where every citizen of Israel gets basically like $1 million a year.
We're giving like 3 to 4 billion to Israel, which we should stop, but over 100 billion a year on SNAP.
But the idea that we're giving Israel all of this money, it's not even our country,
statement.
and then we're telling Americans, hey, get back to work, peasant. You can't have Coca-Cola, you can't have candy, you can't have a nice meal for your family.
You absolutely shouldn't have Coca-Cola or candy if you don't work. The $3 billion to Israel that we should also cut has nothing to do with it. It's less than a 50th.
I just think we should solve all of those other extraneous problems before we start telling American citizens we can't have nice luxuries. Yeah, you should work for
sure
your
you
food
can
and
if you
all
work
that
for it.
stuff.
It'd be like looking at that car and it doesn't.
I don't think that man understand what's going on. What do you mean luxuries? If you're on SNAP, you only deserve the bare minimum. Sorry to say the word deserve, but it's not meant for you to stay on it for a long time. If they make it luxurious, people would never get off of it. You get what I'm saying? So I agree with Crowder on certain points, and in certain points I disagree. But let's continue.
We're going, not the engine, not the transmission. Let's fix the bolt on that hubcap. That would be the money to Israel. By the way, I say cut all of it, but it's not even close to SNAP, let alone if you get to what illegal immigration. The social safety nets, the welfare state that we have is so much astronomically higher. It's so much higher. That was horrible grammar. I'm tired. I've been here for about 5 hours at this point, and I just had to sit down with a furry and act like I didn't think it was degeneracy. But we're at the point now where we have to actually deal with the problem, and this is one of the primary problems. And I think that it's a red herring to say, yeah, but Israel, great, cut it too. It's not even close, but we do have to bring up one of the. So I think we agree on principle, and I agree with you on all. We don't disagree on anything. Cut all of it. You want Coca-Cola? Go buy it.
The deal you turned down from Ben Shapiro's corporation was worth $50 million.
Sure.
So
the company, it employs about 30 people.
A lot of money, though. And we're still funding Israel. We're still funding all of these militaries across the United States. We're in a deficit of our own military.
We're funding the military of the United States.
Well, we're in a deficit for our own, like, national protection. Like,
it's not even close.
Because of how much we're giving to them. So I do have questions, though. Where do you make your money? Like, who funds you?
It's entirely funded by viewers. Yeah, about 85% is people who choose to subscribe. So no outside money from donors, from nonprofits, and we do like one sponsor a day that makes up about 15% of revenue.
Okay. Based on the demographic of SNAP recipients that I'm thinking of being like single mothers, and based on the cancellation that you went through in 2021, do you see how that like is kind of like...
No, I don't.
From my recollection, SNAP was created in the black community for single mothers who needed money to put food on the table. However, food stamps is generally for everyone. I guess at one point there was discrimination when it came against, free money, but people need to stop the stigma of how a person looks that receives EBT or is on EBT. Every race is on EBT, but the number one, it comes to white. You understand what I'm saying? Then you got the ones who you can't say stuff about them on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about. Starts with a J, right? So with that being said, it's funny how they only show you one demographic, and that's totally wrong. That's the media doing that. They don't want to show exactly who's on it. They just want you to think who's on it, if you get what I'm saying.
I don't see how it's relevant to subsidizing a government program that's a failure and rife with fraud.
I just think it's interesting that you have put someone in a position of potentially needing to rely on that and then turn around and dunk on the other people who also need to rely on it.
I think it's potentially interesting that you believe things that you see in the media and have no idea as the situation that she is. You think she's on Snap, an ex-wife, but I'm not allowed to discuss it because that's the mother of my children.
You're rich. She's not going to be on Snap. I'm glad you respect the mother of your children.
Yeah, I'm not going to be discussing that issue. And I think it's a very feminist thing to then go like, well, since I can't actually argue this point, let me go to something personal when they're ushering you
the hypocrisy. Like the no-fault divorce thing, that's a whole other topic. I wish we would have talked about that instead. Because I think
biggest failure of Ronald Reagan. Yeah.
I think that would have been a lot more interesting, but like
I know, but it's the sign. We have to talk about the sign. I know it's a feminist thing to want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, but the sign is about Snap.
I brought it back in.
Did you bring it back in?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that like a lot of women end up on Snap from situations like that.
My position on this is end Snap completely, outright, wholesale. If we want something like food stamps for bare necessities, create a separate program. It's so beyond repair and so corrupt. I think in 2025, done with Snap. If you disagree, you're welcome to change my mind.
I totally disagree, and I'm going to explain to you why. Sometimes you got to open up your eyes and see what's going on with the world around you. I say that to say this. Some people really need it. Not forever, but some people really, really need it. There's some people who can't go back to work for whatever reason. Disability, something that is not making them capable of working. Those people are in need. I would have to disagree with him. We cannot cut it out 100%. However, we need to change the recipients. They need to get a little tougher on that. That's all.
Okay, let me give you some context. So I come from Adair County, Oklahoma. When I was growing up, it was the #1 poorest county. We've moved up in the world, and now we're the 3rd poorest county.
Good for you.
I know, out of all 77, yay!
Yeah. It's baby steps.
Yes, I'm a Cherokee citizen. Cherokee Nation is very prevalent in my little bitty town. Even with Cherokee Nation, we still depend on SNAP.
Yeah, why?
Yes. Because it's a very rural, very small town, and we have a lot of small jobs that pay minimum wage, so people are not able to afford rent and eat.
Okay.
We heavily have to depend on horticulture, agriculture. We have a Tyson factory. We do so much of that kind of work, but that does not pay well. So, we're paying to keep the lights on. Not me personally.
No, I get it.
But people in my community are paying to have the lights on, but they still need to eat. There's still food insecurity in rural towns. And I think one thing people are forgetting is those rural towns. They're seeing the majority, but they're also not looking at the minority.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
I think some people in the government are looking at the numbers and not the people and the geographical areas of where they're
forgive me, what do you mean by those in the government? Because the government position has been overwhelming support for SNAP to the point that it's ridiculous, where the #1 purchased item is sugary sodas. That's $100 to $130 billion a year, $9 billion of which just go to soda alone. You can get everything on SNAP. You can get caviar on SNAP.
I believe it was one point in life that you were not able to get any of that on Snap. And all of a sudden, I seen people buy cigarettes on Snap. No lie.
You can get Halloween candy on SNAP, which I think is immoral and I think is ridiculous, which is why if we want to go back to a food stamp program for bare essentials, well, that should help people who are in need. But it sounds to me like you're talking about a nation, or the Cherokee Nation, and this neighborhood, or community, was most poor to 3rd poorest. It sounds to me like you're almost advocating for perpetual use of SNAP, which we know has been very prevalent in the Native American community. And would you say that's made the Native American community stronger or weaker? How's it doing?
It has made it stronger, but since we're not always recognized, it's not building back up.
What do you mean?
Like, we're in a very poor rural area, but we're not able to change it dramatically because we're not having more people invest and spend time and work more in our rural areas because they're going to bigger and better places.
Why do you think that other rural areas are able to do so? There are other rural areas that aren't that poor, and certainly not for decades at a time. Why do you think it's so specific to the Native American community, who get far more, disproportionately more government benefits and contribute less? Why do you think that is?
sometimes there's a rich person who gives a big amount, whether it be scholarship or funds. They're coming in.
The money's leaving, it's not staying.
No, that's okay. By the way, it's okay. I still get nervous all the time every time I do this. If this helps you, let me present to you my position.
Okay.
Would that help?
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes.
And just let me know too if you want, because I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I also know you don't sit and talk as much for a living, so if it helps. I would say that it has kneecapped and irreparably damaged the Native American community. I would say the Native American community has been handicapped. They're not a particularly industrious people because they don't have to be, and because they are ultra reliant on government services. And I would say that let's grant your scenario, which I wouldn't say is necessarily true in most scenarios, but a wealthy person coming in and investing in a community, sure, that can be helpful.
Yes.
Those people would be very, very hesitant to invest in a community that seems to be dependent in perpetuity forever on government assistance with no interest in getting off of it.
Okay.
That would be, I would say that. I would say that...
That makes sense. Why would I want to go invest in a community who depends solely on the government and who's never trying to get on their feet? They only gonna run my money to the ground. So that right there, I agree with.
There's a reason that not only is that one of the poorest communities, but Native American reservations, despite having advantages in a lot of ways, pretty much everyone looks like an episode of Cops. It's bad. It's bad. Let's just be honest, right? They don't look beautiful. They're not nice. And we've been doing it this way with government assistance and subsidies. Maybe do it a different way. Maybe if you cut people off and go, no, you got to start doing what everyone else does. You got to start toiling by the sweat of your brow. Maybe they would become more industrious, because I don't think it's helped the Native American community. And I say it because it's a microcosm. There's a huge over-reliance on government subsidies, welfare, social safety benefits in the Native American community. But now apply that at large, that's what happens with SNAP EBT. You can't determine what these people, everyone deserves treats. First off, not everyone deserves treats. Second, for me, it's pretty simple. You pay, you choose. I pay, the taxpayer, I choose. Milk, eggs, meat, produce, and fabric softener.
Also, I also remember you couldn't get hot sandwiches, anything hot. Now, you can get anything on EBT at your deli. At least in New York City, I know this for a fact. You can walk into the deli, you can get cigarettes, alcohol, whatever that deli sells, they'll put it in your EBT. They'll figure a way how to maneuver that. Trust me.
Otherwise, get to work. Is that fair?
No.
No, that's not fair?
There should be some choice in that.
I don't think there should be any choice. Our soldiers get MREs and they have to pay for them. Why should someone who's able-bodied, choosing not to work, get anything better than our soldiers? Are you aware of, so SNAP, because you mentioned this is true. If you go to Amazon, right?
All right.
SNAP EBT, okay, right here. So I pay taxes, right? And there are a lot of Americans who work and pay taxes, who are poor, low-income Americans, right?
Yes.
Not on SNAP. You get 50% off your Prime membership. You get unlimited groceries for $4.99 a month. Let me show you what's in the groceries.
That's crazy.
Lavazza coffee, $25. Rockstar, Ghost Energy. Hey, let's go down to snacks and treats. When you say choice, these are the choices right now that tax. Pre-filled pumpkin buckets of assorted Halloween candy. Does that seem like helping someone with a tough break? And how do we make the case to low-income Americans that they should fund that? Because they are.
Well, a lot of them have children.
Okay, so do the people paying taxes who are working for a living.
Treats though.
Right? I mean, because people say it's taken from the rich, given to the poor. And you look obviously very svelte, and I'm sure you know that obesity is a problem in the country. It doesn't affect you. Probably affects me more than you. I have some that I could lose. But the obesity rate for low-income women in this country, okay, who are not on SNAP, 40%. You know what it is for those on SNAP? 57%.
That's a lot.
So working class Americans with kids not on SNAP, struggling, are paying to make other people fatter. How can we have a country with that? That's what I say, cut it, give out a few food stamps for a period of time, a few months, until you get back on your feet. Otherwise, get your ass to work. Can you understand why? And by the way, I wasn't raised wealthy. And I know those people. I work with these people. I've spent my whole life with these people who, out of pride, would not take SNAP or EBT. And when they find out what they're paying for, that's a really tough pill to swallow.
He's not lying when it comes to that. I remember it was one point in my life where I hit rock bottom, and I forgot where I went, but it was a city it was some office that was attached to the city, right? And I told the lady, I said, look, I lost my job. I need some help. I need some assistance. I was really looking for a job. The lady brought me to a different room and had me filling out some paperwork. But as I'm reading it, I'm like, wait, what is this? I don't want WIC. Wait, government assistance? Nah, we're not doing that. Maybe it was my pride, but my pride pushed me to never go that route. I left that office with the quickness and ended up getting employment somewhere else and never looked back. But let's not forget, you have the people that was formerly incarcerated. They come home and they have no one to go to. No job wants to hire them. So what do you expect them to do? I understand, yeah, they should have never went to jail, but it happened. They're coming out. Now what? Do you expect them to repeat an old habit so they can go back to prison? Or do you give them benefits so that they can figure something out in the meantime, right? However, yeah, they got to put a cap on it so people don't stay on it forever. And they got to change the regulations so that people who don't belong on it are abusing it will no longer be able to use it. So this way there will be more money for the people who really need it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check his channel out. That is Steven Crowder. See you in the next one.